Good evening and welcome to the Pompey Politics Podcast Prime Minister's Question Time Special, an episode where we look at the PMQs and see whether we can make any sense of the questions that never get answered. I'm Ian Tiny Morris.
And I'm Simon Sainsbury here for the reasonable and calm bit.
Yes, yeah, well, again, after last week's minor debacle, we journey in hope, do we not, that today things might be a bit more grown up.
Well, let's see, shall we? So we'll get straight into it. We open up with a bit of a reminder from Sir Lindsay Hoyle.
And in light of recent exchanges in the Chamber, I'd like to remind members of the need for good temper and moderation in the language that they use in this Chamber. As Speaker...
Are you hearing him? Because that's not coming through on the audio on my end. Okay.
It's sounding lovely to me, obviously
Right.
in his northerly way.
Okay, I'm going to...
Speaker, I am not responsible for the specific questions asked by individual members or for the answer given by ministers. So I encourage all members to engage in respectful debate as our constituents would expect. We now come to premises questions. Josh Fenton-Glynn. Kemi Badenoch, the Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, can I pay tribute to our brave servicemen and women in the Middle East during this very difficult period? Our bases in Cyprus and Bahrain have now been attacked. The US has taken offensive action to destroy missile launch sites to defend British territory. Why will the Prime Minister not allow the RAF to do the same?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, can I make clear this is obviously an extremely serious situation, and I know the whole country is worried about the potential for escalation. They're worried about the impact on their lives, particularly when they see what's happening with energy. The family and friends of those who are caught in the region will be worried sick about them. And, of course, we've got civilians and military personnel at risk in the region. We need to act, therefore, with clarity, with purpose, and with a cool head. The protection of UK nationals is our #1 priority. And we're taking action to reduce the threat, with planes in the sky in the region, intercepting incoming strikes, deploying more capability to Cyprus, and allowing US planes to use UK bases to take out Iran's capability to strike. What I was not prepared to do on Saturday was for the UK to join a war unless I was satisfied there was a lawful basis and a viable, thought-through plan. That remains my position.
That wasn't the question I asked him. Nobody wants to see an escalation. The fact is, Mr. Speaker, our bases, in case they don't realise, our bases have already been attacked. Iran is trying to kill our servicemen and women. He is catching arrows rather than stopping the archer. That's what we're talking about. Why is he asking our allies to do what we should be doing ourselves? I would say to Labour MPs, we are in this war whether they like it or not. What is the Prime Minister waiting for?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, let me give a little more detail, because for a number of weeks now, we've been pre-deploying our capabilities to the region. In doing so, we've been liaising very closely with the United States, as the House would have expected. Therefore, radar systems were pre-deployed, ground-based air defence was pre-deployed, counter-drone systems were pre-deployed, and F-35 jets were pre-deployed. Mr. Speaker, that is why, since Saturday morning, multiple F-35s and Typhoons have been in operation not just in the Middle East, but across Cyprus. Further missions were flown overnight, Typhoons defending in particular Qatar, and F-35s defending other regional parties. We're resupplying our air defence missiles today. Wildcat helicopters with anti-drone capabilities will be in Cyprus this week. and HMS Dragon will be deployed to the Mediterranean. And of course, in agreement with the US, they're using our bases to conduct the operations to strike Iranian missiles and launchers. Mr. Speaker, that is the action that we are taking. That is the agreement that we've reached with the United States to protect our nationals.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister has read out.
I'm just going to flip out of that because I've had some ongoing problem with the audio. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, I can. Yeah, you are coming through loud and clear.
Yeah, I'm now getting that echo back that we had before, but just now I had problems with the audio actually playing. So I think we'll just kind of persevere and see. So from a question of what is it you're doing with regards to kind of the situation, is Kemi Badenoch trying to, what are your views there?
Yeah, I mean, for me, there's a bit more clarity to it, which is this is one of those areas where I think the Prime Minister is having to walk a fine line, because if you look back over the kind of the last sort of, well, since Donald Trump came to his second term of presidency, it was very clear that the end of being the world's policeman, we're not going to get involved, we're not going to get involved. And now he's got very involved very quickly. And Iran's response appears to have just been to fire these kind of kamikaze drones off in all directions, including at British personnel and bases. So the Prime Minister's position originally was that, we're not going to get involved. You can't use our bases to start, which seems perfectly feasible. But obviously now the position is Iran has started firing missiles at ourselves, and I think Kemi Badenoch's kind of, you're trying to catch the arrows rather than kill the. Seems like a perfectly fair question to ask. And my interpretation of Sir Keir Starmer's answer was, leave the shooting of the Archer to the Americans. We're going to keep trying to stop the arrows.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the PM is having to kind of ride a very, very fine line. But it seems in trying to criticise that Kemi Badenoch is asking us is basically saying that we should be getting involved in an ill-defined attack on another country that seems to have kind of dubious mission definitions. Yeah,
and I guess it depends where you stand, doesn't it? Because there is that element of and again, we don't want to get into that sort of wrapping ourselves in a flag imagery, but there is a little bit of, if Iran starts, Iran started firing missiles at British bases, Qatar, Dubai, Bahrain, none of whom had started a ruck with Iran. So there's an element of, how long do you let Iran fire missiles at your personnel and at your allies before you join in, or to use a kind of slightly, or do you just continue to hide behind the US's skirts, hoping they'll take care of it for you? Well, because after all, they started it. There is that element to it.
Yes. Yeah. So let's play some more, and hopefully things will work.
Out a long list, it is not enough. He says that we are pre-deploying. The one ship which we are sending, HMS Dragon, is still in Portsmouth. The fact is the Type 45s cannot take out incoming missiles. This is not enough. He's read out a long list. The people who understand know it is not enough. He should be doing more. Yesterday, the Chancellor could have given more money to defence. Instead, I don't know why they're laughing. I don't know why that's funny. Yes, not funny. Yesterday, the Chancellor could have given more money to defence. Instead, she gave more money for welfare. Their priorities are all wrong, Mr. Speaker. Their priorities are all wrong. They can shunter as much as they like. The fact of the matter is that the war in Iran is happening now.
Order. Mr. Bailey, I don't like that. I don't think it becomes you either. An officer and a gentleman, I expect more. Come bed on.
The fact of the matter, Mr. Speaker, is that the war...
I can lip read as well. So please, let's learn something. If not, you'll learn the way out. Come bed.
Mr. Speaker, the country is not going to be distracted by Labour MPs moaning. The fact of the matter is that the war in Iran is happening now. But the OBR say the government won't hit 3% on defence for 5 years. The war is happening now. There is no urgency from the Prime Minister. Why is he leaving the job of funding our armed forces to the next government?
Prime Minister.
I'm not going to take lectures on defence from the party opposite. They came into office, and what did they do? They cut the defence budget. They missed army...
Order. Mr. Philp, you've moved from there to there. You're even louder here, so I think twice. Prime Minister.
Not only did they cut the defence budget, they missed army recruitment targets every year for 14 years. They left morale in our armed forces at an all-time low, and our forces hollowed out. That's the words of Ben Wallace, the former Defence Secretary. Labour, by contrast, is delivering the biggest boost to defence spending since the Cold War. £270 billion over this Parliament. And we're doing that because we're focused on what matters. And she's right. The war is, of course, happening now. We have to focus on that. Across the country, people are worried about those that are trapped in the region. And, Mr. Speaker, that is why we're taking action. And I can update the House. That yesterday, more than 1,000 British nationals arrived back in the UK on commercial flights from the UAE. A further 8 flights are due to leave the UAE to the UK today. I can confirm, Mr. Speaker, that the first charter flight is expected to leave Oman later today, and 2 more will come in the coming days. The country really does want to know this. I'm sorry. Family and friends are worried sick about people who are caught out. I will not be put on. I can announce, Mr. Speaker, we will lay on additional charter flights in coming days. British Airways are now laying on an extra flight from Oman, and the Foreign Secretary will have further discussions today. And can I urge all those in the House who have constituents who are caught in this to make sure that they do register their presence so we can do whatever we can to help them get home safely.
I'm just going to pause there again a second. So, for something so serious, and it seems that there's not much patience from Lindsay Hoyle on this subject, but for something so serious, there's still a lot of yaboo and a lot of moaning or chuntering from a sedentary position, as they say.
Yeah, I think, ultimately, the challenge with this is that, Prime Minister PMQs has become very performative, hasn't it? And there is an element of, if it is going to address the issue in hand, then for me, the evacuation of British nationals caught in the crossfire is something that we should be focused on. Obviously, Kemi went to have a little dip there at Rachel Reeves' statement of yesterday, but that's obviously got no traction. And there is a little bit of, ultimately, you could put an absolute giant dustbin of money in the centre of the House of Commons today. You can't go and buy warships, drones, and F-35 fighter jets from Asda.
No, you and even if you could, there'd be an order, a lead time, wouldn't there? That's the thing. If you're going to spend this money, you need to spend it wisely. But you needed to spend it 10 years ago. Is essentially the thing. So it's
Yeah, yeah. And every defence project is runs over budget, runs over time, and is measured in years, not months. So there is an element of and it's unlike me to be so balanced, but if we're in a hole now, then that is the previous administration's issue, not all you can do is push for the future. And I think there is a valid question of we'll get to 3% after our term is up. It's fair to be challenged, but I'm not sure that helps the position we're in now.
No, but it's fair to follow the money, because that tells you where the priorities are, doesn't it? Because at the end of the day, you can say all these things, but if you're not paying for them, they're not happening.
Yeah. No, and it is it's the great challenge of being in government rather in opposition, isn't it? Opposition, it's very easy to call upon the government to spend more money on insert topic of your choosing. The hard bit is when you actually have to press the button, and yeah. So,
Okay.
Have we got more from Kemi?
We have.
Mr. Speaker, I wasn't asking about evacuations. I was asking about defence spending. He needs to focus on the question he's being asked, not the statement that was prepared in the bunker. He stands there telling us that he's spending more money on defence. They're saying it. No, he isn't. In fact, they are cutting defence spending by £2.6 billion from the MOD budget this year. And that's why there are no Royal Navy warships in the Middle East, Mr. Speaker. In June last year, he should ask his Defence Secretary for the numbers, because that is what's happening. In June last year, Mr. Speaker, the government promised that its plan for funding our armed forces would be ready by autumn. In autumn, they promised it would be ready by the end of 2025. It is March 2026, and still nothing. So can the Prime Minister tell the House when his defence investment plan will finally be published?
Prime Minister.
Well, I'm sorry she's not interested in how people caught in the region are going to get home. I think for the vast majority of people watching this PMQs, that'll be the single most important thing on their mind. They cut defence spending, we're increasing defence spending. And we're doing that, Mr. Speaker, because we've stabilised the economy. Yesterday, the Chancellor announced inflation was down, interest rates down, borrowing down, debt down, investment, living standards growth up. Now, I know the Leader of the Opposition doesn't understand that. The Shadow Chancellor clearly doesn't understand that. Although I do have to thank him that in what's been a very difficult week, he provided some excellent unintended stand-up comedy in his response to the Chancellor yesterday.
Kemi Badenoch.
Mr. Speaker, he doesn't want to talk about the defence investment plan because he doesn't know. He doesn't know what is going on any policy, so he reads statements that are pre-prepared irrespective of the question, and the whole country can see it. The truth is that because they spent money on welfare, there is no defence investment plan. Because there is no defence investment plan, they are not ordering enough missiles. The fact is that this crisis goes beyond defence spending. They can chant as much as they like. They are pathetic, spending money on welfare instead of defence spending. Sorry, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker. They're not just pathetic, they are also weak. This crisis goes beyond defence spending. It is also about the cost of living. This war is interrupting the supply of oil and gas. That is driving up the cost of petrol and making it more expensive to heat our homes. Yet he is stopping drilling in the North Sea while importing the same oil and gas from Norway. Does he think that at a time of geopolitical crisis, it makes sense to kill our oil and gas industry and give up that ready supply of energy?
Well, the question of the energy supply right now is a serious question, and we are doing all we can with allies to make sure that that is preserved. And it's vital that we keep trade flowing through the Straits of Hormuz, Mr. Speaker. The Energy Secretary met the International Energy Agency yesterday, and the Chancellor is meeting oil and gas companies today. We're keeping in close contact with our allies and key industry players. Again, I think the country wants to know what we're doing now in relation to what's happening in coming days. Mr. Speaker, oil and gas will be part of our energy mix for many years to come. But if Ukraine and the last few days have taught us anything, it is that all the time we're on the international market, we are vulnerable to these changes. That is why renewable energy, where we have our independence and security, would take us off those markets and give us the security that we need.
Kemi Badenoch.
Speaker, the Prime Minister again does not understand the energy transition. You do not need to stop drilling in oil and gas to get renewables. This is basic stuff. He doesn't understand his policy. He's got a sea of orcs and goons who have no idea how anything is working at all. Mr. Speaker, they can complain all they like, Mr. Speaker. The fact is, they are letting down the people out.
Order. You can't do a point of order in the middle of Prime Minister's question.
Mr. Speaker.
Can I ask my question?
Just for those listening rather than watching, so after that interjection by Sir Lindsay Hoyle, the PM stood up before Kemi Badenoch had actually finished her question, which was hence the reaction. I'll go straight back to it.
You don't listen to the questions anyway.
Mr. Speaker, the situation in Iran shows this Prime Minister has the wrong priorities. When it comes to defence, it's someone else's job. When it comes to welfare, they find the money. When our bases are attacked, they call the lawyers. When our energy security is under threat, they stop drilling in the North Sea. Mr. Speaker, the truth is, Mr. Speaker, after last week's by-election, isn't the truth that they might not like to hear it, but they are going to hear it, Mr. Speaker, whether they like it or not. Is it not the truth that he is prioritising his job security over our national security?
Mr. Speaker, I spent the week protecting British lives and our national interest. And Mr. Speaker, moments like this define a leader of the opposition. They can either step up, act in the national interest and show that they're fit to be Prime Minister, or they can expose their utter irrelevance. She has chosen the second.
Sir Ed Davey, Leader of the Liberal Democrats.
Oh, here comes Ed.
So, thought I'd quickly pause there.
Yeah. She does have a nice turn of phrase, a sea of orcs and goons, which perhaps isn't getting to the heart of the matter. But no, I mean, a lot to unpack there. You know, the fact that fuel prices were rocketing again. I had a spicy exchange only yesterday on Portsmouth politics around the it doesn't have to be one or the other. Renewables, more of them, good. We're going to be needing oil for decades to come. There's quite a bit of it still in the North Sea. Yeah, it seems like the green energy thing is another one of these ideological positions where you either have to be completely one way or the other. There's no middle ground. But yeah, that's probably a whole other show.
It is, and what I think is being referred to there is the fact that wholesale electricity prices in the UK are actually linked to whichever is the most expensive medium of generation, and that is currently gas. So if there was a regulatory change that altered that, it would mean that our prices didn't fluctuate with the fluctuations of gas-powered generation. That's kind of essential. That's a very simplistic way of kind of looking at that. You can't, obviously, even if we drilled something out of the North Sea, that's not ours. It's unless you're going to take it into public ownership, which would be very Corbyn. It's sold on the open market, so it doesn't necessarily actually improve our situation. However, generation from the wind farms in Scotland or from the solar panels in throughout Oxfordshire or wherever is generated here and stays here, unless you start getting into interconnectors, and we're not going to get into that.
No, we're not going to. Yeah, no, I just think it's that, I guess the key part is there is a mechanism by which the price is defined.
Yes.
At the moment, that seems to fail everybody. Perhaps, in that analogy of archers and catching arrows, perhaps we need to look at the way in which the price is defined as we transition more towards renewables. So last week, Sir Ed Davey was our great hope, who brought just a modicum of sense to the conversation. So shall we see what, as Sir Ed swings in, see when comes swinging in on a bungee cord. Let's see what he's got to say.
Well, he doesn't do that, but nonetheless.
Right.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I associate myself with the Prime Minister's remarks on Sarah Everard and the need to do far more to tackle violence against women and girls? And can I also associate myself with the Prime Minister's remarks on Iran, as we rightly debate how to make tax exiles pay their fair share? It is absolutely right that the government does everything it can to get all British citizens to safety. Mr. Speaker, experts are warning that families could see their energy bills rise by £500 a year as a result of Trump's illegal war. But millions of families and pensioners are already struggling to keep their heads above water thanks to years of a cost of living crisis. When Putin invaded Ukraine, he and I campaigned for months to get the Conservatives to act on energy bills. This time, will the Prime Minister save families that anxiety and give a cast iron guarantee today that he will not let energy bills rise by £500 this year?
Prime Minister.
Can I thank him for raising this, because I know this will be a concern to the public, who are watching what's going on and very concerned about the impact it will have on their lives. It is important that I emphasise the actions we've been taken urgently this week with our allies, with the energy agencies across the world, and the work we're doing to make sure there's safe passage for energy across the world. We will continue to do that. I was glad that we were able to bring energy price bills down by £150 announced just the other day. We will keep a very close eye on this. I do know how important it is for the British public.
Sir Ed Davey.
Well, I thank the Prime Minister for his reply, but I hope he will act if energy bills do go up by £500. Mr. Speaker, Donald Trump's war on Iran has not only brought more chaos across the Middle East, it's increased the threat to our national security here at home. Iran's Revolutionary Guard has previously plotted several failed terrorist attacks in the UK, targeting Iranian journalists, British Jews, and members of this House. Now they are more desperate and dangerous than ever. We've called for the IRGC to be prescribed as terrorists for years. The last government failed to do it, and so has his. So will the Prime Minister table emergency legislation to better protect our country from Iranian terrorists? Will he do it this week?
Prime Minister.
Can I just, again, thank you for raising this. It is very important, I say to the House, that as he would, and the House would expect, we are working 24/7 on dealing with any threats to this country. And I spoke on Monday about the 20 Iran-backed threats that we had successfully dealt with, and we continue to do so, and we're working on it 24/7. So it's important that I say that. In relation to the IRGC, obviously we've put in place a number of sanctions already. We don't comment on prescription, but we have made the case that there needs to be legislation to deal with state-backed terrorist groups, and we're looking into that.
My brow is furrowed.
I could see. It was
on two counts.
Okay.
And one is close.
Away.
Well, one is close to my heart in terms of the amount of money that was given away by the last government to keep energy prices down, billions upon billions upon billions upon billions. In fact, I think it was one of the first, Liz Truss wasn't in office very long, but the first thing she did was signed, I can't remember whether it's 60 or 90 billion kind of handout to keep energy prices down.
Mm.
So I think asking for a cast iron guarantee that effective energy prices won't go up, was that asking for a cast iron guarantee that it won't rain on the 13th of June this year?
Well, I don't mind if it doesn't rain on my birthday. But it's a bit of a difficult one. How do you kind of, without a crystal ball, how do you kind of predict these things? But at the same time, surely the government can be saying that it's looking at measures to limit the impact actually on everybody, given the cost of living crisis. I guess saying nothing makes it sound like you don't have a plan or you don't have an idea what to do yet. But maybe saying, I don't know, maybe saying, yes, we're looking at all of the options and we'll explore those, and it's an evolving situation, and we'll brief the House as it becomes necessary for us to take action as to what those steps will be.
Yeah, and politicians aren't. Yeah, politicians answer, and I kind of get it, but it's a little bit, well, you can't, how long this will last, what effect it will have, all the time the Straits of Hormuz are inaccessible, that will stop the global trade in oil, the price will go up. We know all of those things to be true. And then the second bit, which had me furrowing my brow, the IRGC is the Iranian Revolutionary Guard.
Yes.
So they are the bad guys of the baddest of bad guys of the Iranian regime. So prescribing them as a terror organization, I mean, let's be honest, Iran is a state sponsor of terror all around the world and has made no secret of it forever.
How do you get to a point where you've categorized Palestine Action as a terrorist organization and as a prescribed organization before you've prescribed the IRGC?
Well, I guess because the IRGC is part of a state. It's like prescribing Russia, or the Russian state.
We spent the last 4 years enacting loads of sanctions against Russian assets and against.
Yeah, I guess it just feels to me that it's not the same animal. It is a. There is absolutely no doubt the IRGC has been, Iran has been sponsoring terrorism, Hamas, Hezbollah, things below the radar. I'm not sure what prescribing the Iranian Revolutionary Guard is going to do.
It makes it illegal for them to enter the country, and it makes it illegal for others to support them, either in fact or in funding. So in that respect, it limits their operations in the UK to not. To be honest, to me, it seems a no-brainer. I don't get why it's not been done.
Yeah, well, I guess it's because it's the Iranian state, isn't it? It's that difference between, usually a terrorist organization is not state sponsored. It's not part of the mechanics of a state function. So we're getting a little bit abstract here because at the end of the day, let's focus on what we all agree on. The IRGC, very bad people, and no, you shouldn't be supporting them. So I guess it's that element of it's all going to unfurl, and in terms of the whole, if I look at this week's PMQs, the trying to get the team to chant down, down, up, down, down, up.
Yeah, that wasn't.
Oh,
This was not the
just,
time to be doing that Yahoo
oh,
politics.
just,
And I thought Starmer, when he was making the point against Badenoch, where he was saying about, look, as an opposition leader, you have a choice as to which sort of opposition leader in times like this you can be. But then he made a political point on the back of that. So you can't. So on one hand, you try to say, hang on, I'm the serious one here. I'm that people actually really want to understand kind of what's going on.
Yeah.
And then you go back to the point scoring politics. I think that undermines, if you're trying to make a point of we're the serious ones. I just let
the grown-ups in let the record show that I am the person here behaving as the responsible adult, and let the record show that you smell of gerbil wee poo stink.
Not really but from a perspective of not wanting the country to race into being involved in an ill-defined and illegal war. I mean, people's views will differ. Personally, I think that's kind of the right call. But when it comes to attacking our people and our infrastructure around the world, I don't honestly think that the IRGC are going to be going to make that distinction. They already hate us. They're not, they're not.
Death to the West was never really, apart from those decent chaps in the UK. So, I think there is going to be much more to come on this.
Sadly,
yes, I'm not. Unfortunately, I think this one is going to run and run. We will continue to do our little review of PMQs, and maybe one day there'll be a straight question that isn't
and an actual bloody answer.
And an answer. We will continue in hope. You've been listening to the Pompey Politics Podcast, Prime Minister's Question Special. I've been Ian Tiny Morris.
I've been Simon Sainsbury. Join us on Sunday when we'll be talking about all things housing with the Cabinet Member for Housing and Preventing Homelessness, Darren Sanders. Join us at 6:27. We'll be there. Don't forget to give us a like, follow, subscribe, etc., etc. See you on Sunday. Don't forget to like, follow and comment on Facebook, or comment and subscribe on YouTube. Find us on all the social media platforms: Facebook, X, YouTube, Threads, LinkedIn.